Now yield 5 minutes to Mr. Moore from Utah.
Thank you, Chairman. This is the topic. This is what we need to be focused on. So I always appreciate your willingness to shine a light on it. I want to just start off, as I've been able to hear and listen, I always come to these hearings ready to hear about the Clinton era. I love the fact that we had a balanced budget then too, and a surplus. I want my colleagues across the aisle to also remember that Larry Summers, the economic advisor to President Clinton, was one that, honestly rang out and communicated. We hear all this talk about what's going to be done in reconciliation, right? Whenever anybody has the White House, House, and Senate, a reconciliation bill gets done. Democrats in 2021 did the American Rescue Plan, a $2 trillion bill with no offsets whatsoever. I do not want to be lectured on a bill. If you look at the two of them, okay, none of them paid the debt down, right? But we have to have economic growth. If we do not have economic growth, we do not have the strong GDP that we can try to eventually save the day. I do not want to be lectured when I saw a $2 trillion bill come with no offset spending. Okay? And what I wanted to talk about, and I'm going to pivot now and get in a better mood, because we have something that hasn't been addressed that was brought to our office from Americans for Prosperity to be able to deal with the fundamental issue of why we're here. Is for 50 years, we have not voted, well, if we ever have, voted on the entirety of the budget. We only vote on 25%. So I agree with my colleague, Mr. Roy, when he says all of it's the problem, right? We only get to vote on the discretionary budget and the emergency pieces. We do better than other times, but for 50 years, we've kept the discretionary budget at a rate of growth from 1 to 4.5%. Mr. Couchman, what would you estimate the rate of direct spending, automatic spending, mandatory spending, whatever? What would you estimate the rate of growth for that? Would you rate it below or above 3%?
Well, it's well above GDP growth, so by definition, it's unsustainable.
It's unsustainable. The Comprehensive Congressional Budget Act, which I introduced this Congress, and with the help of everybody at this panel, you are shining the light on this. There's nobody more emotional about this than Mr. Walker, with real data and real highlighting the issues. Your debt digest, Mr. Baccia, it's the one thing. I get a lot of spam in my email. My inbox gets bloated. It gets really, really bloated right now. Yours is the one that I read. The ability for your team to come to ours, Mr. Couchman, and be heavily involved in coming up with a solution. This bill will force us to vote on the entirety of the budget. I do not understand what's wrong with that. I will take a Social Security vote. I will take a Medicare vote. I will vote on Medicaid. I will vote on everything. I don't want to just keep voting on $1.5 trillion of a $7 trillion deficit. If we can't fix this, no matter what type of deficit reductions we can do in reconciliation, if we can't fix the fact that we don't vote on the entirety of the budget, like every state in the entire nation does, then we won't fix this. Would you please comment on the nature of this bill and what it would ultimately accomplish?
Yeah, I would characterize it as giving every committee the opportunity to manage their programs, their portfolio, in the same way that the appropriators do every single year. The Ways and Means Committee has jurisdiction over 100% of revenue policies, taxes, like bases, rates, and expenditures, as well as a number of direct spending programs. Judiciary has some resources. All the committees have a piece of the actual budget, but only one of them has the opportunity to manage that every year. And if you were to do that, you might find that there'd be incredible bipartisan opportunities to drive better value for the American people.
And which committee is it that gets to do it every year?
It's the Appropriations Committee, yep.
How many committees do we have here?
There are 17 with spending authority.
And how many of them are involved in some spending, some budget-related matter at all?
I mean,
pretty much all of them.
Ad hoc from time to time, but not consistently every year with an expected process where you can build coalitions.
Point is, that one committee, Appropriations, over 50 years has been able to keep their budget growth to the rate of inflation, which is the goal for what everybody want to do, in the 1 to 4% range. I'd rather keep it to 1%, but it'll bubble up here or there. COVID years, it put it up a little bit more. But even with COVID years, the appropriations process was able to keep it. I'm on Ways and Means Committee. I wish I could vote on Medicare, Social Security, the portions that we have a jurisdiction over, Medicaid, all the welfare programs. I want to vote on them every year. I will support them. I absolutely will support them, but we can't make changes to it. So when 2008 hits and the baby boomers start to retire, all of a sudden everything flipped. The people that were contributing to the program are out taking their benefit that they deserve, but we didn't have a chance to vote on any of this. And this is what the Comprehensive Congressional Budget Act will do. I am going to continue to be the strongest of support and fighter for this type of change to happen to our process, because if it doesn't happen, nothing will change with our automatic spending. And with that, Speaker, Mr. Chairman, I yield back a lot more time than anybody else in the last 5 or 7.